Good evening all. Hopefully you can hear me all right. Just a few last minute volume changes. Hopefully I'm not being drowned out too much by the music. If I am, let me know. Well, good to see you all. To Dell, Don Chavez, Sloth, Tep, to Burger Pops, Space Saga, and everyone else who's in and loitering. Good to see you all. Another Sunday, and actually deceptively lots to talk about, and not just about the upcoming 4.2. A little bit of community drama, and by little I mean a lot. Good evening, Shadow Girl. And you know, we've got Alien Week just around the corner with the Prowler that we had a kind of a look at, but we'll have another look and see if we can figure out what's going on there. Talked about the ATLS IKTI and all that sort of stuff. Now that we've had a few more details about Stormbreaker and what it is they think is going on and what it is they're attempting to do. So, hey Jag, hey Raygun, good to see you all. I'm doing good, thanks Ray. Doing alright, thank you. I am just now going to, hopefully that's coming through quite nicely. Cheers all to a good Sunday. It's been the end of my week off. I am now, unfortunately, a year older, as of an undisclosed date this week. So yeah, it's been not a bad week at all. I've been balancing my time between doing this stuff, doing some real life stuff that's kind of been pressing throughout the week that's been going on in the background, and also I'm building some Warhammer stuff because I have a big game coming up next month, so I've been building and painting that. So that's been a lot of fun. Yeah, it's been a week. It's been a week, and you know, the highlight obviously on Sunday being able to talk to you guys. So yeah, I've had quite a bit of fun this week in Star Citizen. Not been into PTU yet, as you guys well know. I wait now for the PU because I've had enough of bugs, and I think a lot of that was the old internet connection I was on wasn't great, just exacerbating all those bugs, meaning that lag then played a factor. I'm on a much faster connection now, but I still can't bring myself to do it. Charlie McCawsome, hello mate. Zavath, good to see you. Yeah, beer is like the wine for us French folks. Well, this one's actually a cider, but you're not far wrong. Absolutely. My birthday I was drinking a good Shiraz that I quite like. But this week I've got 10 of these sat around now. Well, I had 10. I don't have 10 anymore. But I thought I'd partake. So cheers to everyone. And because I wasn't drinking last weekend, was I? Or was it the weekend before? I can't remember. But still. So, I got to tell you guys about a highlight of play that I've had happen this week. And it wasn't really... It's unfortunately, I didn't record it. So I'm kind of feeling a little bit gutted that I didn't have the footage to show you guys. Which is a shame. However, at Hathor, two of us down there, we'd just complete one entire path. So we'd found all the blue keycards, we found the red keycards, we put the alignment blades in, because that's now working really well. The baby Valakar spawned, we killed them all, we got all the teeth, we got all the loot, and we headed back to station. Enjoyed that so much, we thought we'd do it again. So we're down getting the first blue keycard, and they're shooting. We come outside to see what's going on, and there is an Asgard, a Zeus, and a Hornet coming down and shooting up targets on the ground. So we thought, do you know what, we're only in a Terrapin Medic. We're going to get into it, we're going to get the hell out of there. That's not how that played out. As we're running, the Terrapin Medic, behind a building to us so we couldn't see what was going on, suddenly exploded. Right? It's night time, so we're like, ugh, do you know what? There's a lot of people landing. We're not going to win this fight. We're going to go up into the hills. We're going to see what's going on. So we went up into the hills overlooking, got some cover. I had a P6LR and the Volt assault rifle on me. So we start watching what's going on. Asgard lands, Nurser gets out the back, the Hornet's killing everyone, the Nurser's killing all the NPCs on the ground, there's people running around. It's obvious we're outgunned, right? At this point, we then look up. They're being covered by an Idris with a railgun. Which is why my Terrapin Medic had suddenly exploded from no shooting. They'd hit it with a railgun and ended it. So we're like, oh good. So our chances of getting out of here are next to none then. Anyway, Nurser's driving around, does its thing. drives back into the back of the Asgard, and then for some reason comes back out again. No idea what they were playing at, but they left the back ramp open. So, my partner in crime, Jamlak, decided that this was a good time to nick their Asgard, which he did. He then flew up, got chased by the Zeus and the Hornet and the Idris, and unfortunately, quantum markers weren't working for him, so he couldn't get out of there. So he just kind of distracted them. While all this is going on, I've got myself into a position to look through the side window into where the blades get put, and I'm there with a P6LR. I shoot a guy twice, I get crime stat 2, he gets back up, I shoot him again, I'm now at crime stat 3, he then tries to run away, I shoot him a couple more times, still at crime stat 3, it doesn't go up for whatever reason. Anyway, no one tries to find me, for no reason that I can figure out why. Everyone comes back down, they bring another Asgard with them, having lost the first one. You know where this is going, don't you? So the guy jumps out, closes it, I'm like, damn, can't get into it. Runs across to the bottom of the alignment facility, grabs the battery, comes back in, puts it in the back of his Asgard, runs back in, leaves the Asgard open. Well, I mean, if you're not going to learn the first time, I can't help you. Ran in, past the ballista that he had in there, past the Rock DS that he had in there, grabbed the ship, flew away, narrowly missed getting nailed by a railgun from the shot from the Idris, managed to jump away, went to the middle of space somewhere, dropped out of quantum, detonated the ship through self-destruct, and as Jamlak was coming to rescue me, a Polaris appeared out of nowhere, having picked up the bounty hunter mission for me, just came screaming in, all guns blazing. I tried to get to the back of Jamlak's ship. The Polaris decided that it wasn't going to waste the ammo and actually ran me down. Physically run me over with a Polaris. Ended up in Clasher for a few hours, joined by Jamlak, whose ship got them destroyed by the Polaris. Lots and lots of fun. Just a kind of... It was only supposed to be a quick stop at Hathor to pick up some loot. I have something like now 39 of the alignment blades in my inventory in Seraphim Station. Right? I've got so many of these things. I'm really enjoying these locations. It was only supposed to be a quick stop. If PvP showed up and it was like a favourable situation for me, I'd engage. If not, I'd just back off and leave it. But that was quite a lot of fun. We then got involved in trying to get some Janelite out of prison. Not going to talk any more about that because I'll get myself in trouble. But it didn't work, so it's fine. We're now deciding that we're going to plan a couple of prison breaks. Proper prison breaks. To get some Janelite out of prison. But yeah, we'll see. FBI open up, says Raygun. Nice. These guys were not that bright. They were not. They kept getting shot. They didn't try to do anything to stop us. They kept hiding in the same place. The only reason I couldn't finish him off was because it's like a square window with a metal plate in front of it. So if you fall down, you're actually obscured from where I was. So I could knock him out. I could incapacitate him, but I couldn't finish him off. And I wasn't entirely sure how many people were running around. And of course, the problem with that is when you run in, they become bush Wookiees. They're just holding an angle, waiting for you to appear. You're watching multiple angles. You're never going to win that fight. So, yeah. It was good fun, though. Naughty boy, I was indeed. The new locations are amazing, says Raygun, but some bugs can ruin the experience. I agree with you. Yeah, what I've really liked about Hathor is they seem to have fixed it. So I've now gone there a number of times and seen the whole thing. The alignment facilities. I haven't done the battery bit on the station. We haven't tried that since it didn't work. But putting the blades in now works. The lights show correctly. The whole facility trembles. The Valakar come up. You defeat them. You have to do that 3 times, and it takes like a minute each time. So it's 3 minutes in total. Really, really good fun. Any idea how many players we're up against? So we know as a minimum we were up against 4 as an absolute minimum. I'd suggest probably 5. I know I shot the same guy a few times. I shot one guy and didn't get anything for it, and that was before I got that crime stat. So he would already obviously had crime stat or just opted not to give me charges. I saw one name, I'm not going to name them because for a whole bunch of reasons. But yeah, good fun, and again, it's just a case of choosing your battles, positioning, all that sort of stuff, and just taking the fights that you think you can win. It's very much an approach like Escape from Tarkov. Don't get involved if you don't think you can win it. So yeah, that was good fun. I mean, some people really enjoy the just getting involved, and that's cool too. But from my perspective, I quite enjoy the, you know, making sure I know I can have a decent chance of winning a fight before I get involved. Sloth says, the biggest issue I've always had was the batteries on the station being bugged, but haven't seen problems with it lately, so fingers crossed they got it pretty well taken care of now. It seems to be. We saw for the first time the day before, so Friday Night Ops, this was good fun, we saw the laser fire for the first time, and that was really cool. There was 8 of us, I think, on the planet, 7, 8 of us. We had one person flying cover. We charged over there. There was a Polaris and a Valkyrie sat over the top. It was like, we're probably going to lose this. But, checked, none of the turrets were moving on the Polaris, so it didn't look like there was many people. We had a Firebug come in, do scans, no one was on the ships. So we all charged in, attacked the cave. Turns out it was one poor guy. One guy had gone down there and got completely lit up. It was just this moment of, you know, they appeared from we could see them from the entrance, and there was a bunch of us up there. So we just railed this guy. Kind of feel a little bit sad for them, but completely killed them really badly. Again, no crime stat, so that was cool. Went and looted the cave and got out of there. So had our first experience getting in and mining the cave. Didn't have a rock, but we also managed to get into the Polaris. Lol. So we stole a Polaris, and then we salvaged it. So not a bad run, all told. Kind of good fun. I've seen it a couple times now, says Charlie McCawsome. It's very cool. Absolutely. Solar Storm, hello, buddy. Good to see you. Just talking about the Friday night stuff that we were doing. Joe, makes you wonder if a Prowler Variant will make a difference, being stealth and all. Possibly. Monthly report said Percy said Greybox reviewed it, but didn't say it ever passed. Interesting. Little thing I figured out, says Charlie. The Fury fits in the mine hole and outguns everyone, and that's how you get someone else mining. Wow. Rude. Yeah, we'll have a look. So I've got the monthly report up because there's a couple of bits I want to highlight. Unfortunately, I didn't get to finish reading it all until I talked to you guys. So we'll have a look at the ships and read through it together. Should we do that now? What do you think? Let's give it a go. Let's head across. I'm just gonna make sure it's the right sort of size so you guys can read it as well. Hopefully the music is not too loud for you guys. I'm just gonna knock it down for me because it's loud on my end. There we go. Lovely. Okay, let's have a look. PU monthly report. Let's head across and see what's going on. So yeah, there's a couple of bits that I want to pick up. So I will scroll through some of this. If anyone wants to highlight something that they want to talk about, then please do as we go through. But yeah, a couple of bits about they're prioritizing human or the NPC reactions. One of the things they said here was NPCs looting ammo too close to hostiles. What I found really interesting is with a P6LR with a sniper rifle, if you silence it and then shoot at someone, say 300 meters away, the AI, they go down. Everyone around them, rather than going into a reaction state, goes, loot, and just walks over to them and starts taking stuff off the body. And by doing that, you can pull people into the open, because you shoot one in the open, he goes down. The others come across to loot, and you just pick them off one by one. And if you're far enough away that they can't see or hear you, everybody dies. It's great, but not the most realistic, and they could probably do with, like, reacting to that. Good evening, Notorious. Good to see you, my friend. So yeah, not much in there that were kind of hugely interesting from the AI, whatever that one was. AI features team. AI game development, again, what's interesting here, the mission system V2 has been started. whatever the outline header design, I guess, broad titles for stuff, is that what they mean? Are they talking about in an English sense? Or is there some game dev speak that we don't know about? Including the mission object properties design, the outline infrastructure, and a generic outline panel. In other words, this is a long way away still. That's what I'm getting from that. It's on its way, but it's a long way away. This also involved creating UI visuals for the outline with all of its components. Alongside this, the team also fixed small bugs and worked on features requested by the game designers to improve StarScript, whatever that is. I do find some of this being really complicated to read. For example, does anyone know what the hell this means? For the subsumption conversation feature, a clustering algorithm was added to split participants into more meaningful groups. This group data will be used to create avoidance obstacles, meaning NPCs will be able to avoid others already in a conversation group. Are they basically saying there'll be clusters of NPCs having conversations and people won't just walk in and be like really weird and start a random conversation that no one else is having? Is that what they're saying? Because just say that. Like, we're looking at ways of stopping the... Or we found a way to make conversations make more sense. Some of this is a little bit painful to read. May saw the character art team progress with new creatures, heavy armor, and gameplay rewards. They also kicked off light armor. And animations developed for an upcoming creature. So the fact that kind of creatures are being talked about and being put in as well. New creature, hopefully they mean a new creature, not variants of existing, like the irradiated creatures that we're getting at the moment. The concept art team prepared handoff sheets and explored future in-game armor rewards. Looks like armor's going to be a big thing for the time being. So, ships then. I guess this is what you're all waiting for. You're like, Badgers, just get to the bloody art thing. Well, I'm going to make you wait a little bit longer, because I'm going to have another sip of my cider. So, fight me, I guess. So, it says, as usual, May was extremely busy because of ILW, all that sort of stuff. 4 unannounced ships are progressing in the Europe studios, so between Frankfurt and Manchester. The first officially entered production. The second progressed towards its upcoming white box review gate. The third down the production pipeline at its Lot Zero review, which is kind of like, I guess, the last or one of the last steps. The fourth received considerable attention during its white box phase, considering the cockpit entry requirements, as it will receive entirely new enter and exit animations. Which sounds a little bit alien to me. But not something that we have existing. Right? So we've got the Sulen and the way that you get into that. We've got the Asperia, so the Prowler. It's not the Prowler because the Prowler, you know, it could the Talon and the normal Prowler. We have 2 options for them to choose from. If it's a variant, there'll be a very strange thing to do to come up with a completely new way of getting in and out of the cockpit. So maybe it's from a manufacturer we haven't seen yet. That, Space Saga. Evening, Jackal. Good to see you, mate. Maybe it's the Raiden. Maybe the Radian's in. But then, it does say unannounced. The Raiden's been announced. So possibly there's something else in the works that we don't know about. Because this will be interesting, right? It does say ships, potentially, Chavez. So I get it. But, yeah. I've already announced it. The Paladin progressed through Greybox, benefiting from the recent work on the Asgard to help speed up its creation. So Paladin looks like it's doing well. Outland Pioneer is in a long and extensive white box phase. I don't think that's any surprise to anyone because of the size that it's in. Kruger Light Fighter, Rooster, good evening. Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't a Kruger light fighter be very, very interesting. That'd be cool, right? So yeah, it's my Orion salvage variant, says Jackal. I don't even know where to go with that. I really don't know where to go with that. So I'm just going to leave that there. They say about the Pioneer, the sheer scale and complexity of the ship mean that it's a longer than normal phase. Unsurprisingly, it's a big old unit, that thing. After a short pause to help close out the Invictus ships, work resumed on the Ironclad, with a focus on blocking out every room with the appropriate Drake kit. So again, Ironclad coming, but it sounds like it's going to be a while yet if they're still working on the rooms. Guardian MX Live, the North American team's moved on to closing out an upcoming variant for its impending release. Maybe this is the Prowler. Which would be... I wish they wouldn't do this to me, right? Because if it's cool enough, I might get it. I don't know. Before anyone shouts at me for getting a new ship, I have a CCU chain that currently ends at a reclaimer that I already own. So it gets to kind of reclaim a point and then's like, don't know where I'm going from here and I don't know what I'm doing with it. So it may well be that I take that to the reclaimer. You know, but truth be told, I will do a live stream when Alien Week goes live. I'll sort my work out so I'm available to do that. We'll see. Earn it in-game badges. I will do with the normal Prowler, 100%. We're going to see with this, because at the moment, that CCU chain goes nowhere, and I don't know what I want to do with it. I could go to the Banu Merchantman, but I feel like that's just a bit too far that I want to push in price. So we'll see. Rusty Pigeon, good to see you, my friend. Good evening. And then, here we go. The RSI, Apollo Medevac, and Triage passed their grey box reviews with a focus on ensuring each medbed module is distinct without being disruptively different. The Perseus continued through grey box, ready for its gate review early this month. So it sounds like, they say early, it depends what your definition of early is, but, you know, within the first 10 days, it looks like it might be this week, potentially. I don't have the Ironclad, Jackal, no. The biggest cargo ship I go up to is the Taurus. Got a Taurus, that's it. Because the idea of loading anything more in terms of boxes, tractor beam stuff, makes me want to stab myself in the fingers. Perseus, we've talked about this before. IAE, I think. I think it's going to be an IAE release. If it comes sooner, great. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I need to want an Ironclad for that Jackal, and it's not my bag. It's not my thing. It's far too big as a cargo ship. So yeah, community stuff, yeah, lots of stuff happening there, and of course this weekend coming, we've got the Bar Citizen World Tour. I don't think I'll be going to it. Having said that, I would try and go. It just, I get a room in a hotel in London for cheaper than I would in Manchester at the moment, and I don't like Manchester that much, so no thanks. Driving that far just to drink beer to then come back the following day is, you're talking easy in terms of fuel and everything else. You're talking easily £400, easy. So yeah, excited to see the Apollo and Perseus come into play finally, says Sloth. The Apollos come out sometime this summer. Yeah, it might all be all at the same time. We'll see. Shava says, too bad the Perseus is not going to be here in time to win Best in Show. It'll win it the following year. There's no way that Perseus... Well, the Perseus, when it first goes into Best in Show, there's no way it doesn't win. Calling it now. So, yeah. Core gameplay. There's a lot in here, but not so much of it is stuff that I want to talk about. You've got the ATLS IKTI and the Geo IKTI. Still not entirely sure what IKTI is supposed to stand for, but I'm sure there's some sort of in-joke. It's... But there's that. Engineering. So this is interesting, this bit here. For engineering, the team reviewed feedback and outstanding work before dividing the feature into smaller milestones. In other words, despite what was said at the Bar Citizen, wherever it was, Far East, about it being imminent, doesn't look like that is quite the case. First milestone primarily covers core gameplay mechanics, such as engineering screen and its ability to manipulate power distribution in item states. A recent internal review provided feedback and polish that will be addressed before the feature reaches players. The diagnostic screen also received new functionality and utility. So, in other words, it's going to be a while yet. Improvable to harbour stalls, fine. The ability to quantum to your own ships, which I'm sure a lot of people are after, and then item recovery is currently progressing, with Tier 1 progressing. That. So, yeah. Charlie says, it's probably called the Combatless. Yeah, I know. I made a video about it. It wasn't coming to us, and, you know, I guess I've just got to eat shit now, right? But yeah, and the fact that it will have the Atlas Geo, or the Geo IKTI one, will have jump jets. Because making it really mobile, you know, helps with the whole balance thing as well, right? So basically what I'm seeing is, if you come up against that thing, and you don't have a railgun, a grenade launcher, or a missile launcher, if that even works against it, you're losing that fight, is what it seems like. So, interesting one here. New vehicle radar and scanning system changes were made to the information available to players before a ship is scanned. Okay, the team is currently reviewing the feedback that came from this change and are looking to implement improvements that smooth out that flow. So whether that means player names back on ships or not, we don't know. Yeah. And then control surfaces. Interesting one. So the atmospheric flight model, control surfaces being able to help control your ship. This is obviously quite a long-awaited feature. It says they've reached a major milestone with most of the atmospheric flight model behaviors now in first pass implementation. As part of this, ships will now more accurately reflect the expected flight behavior based on lift, drag, angle of attack, and other factors. Thrusters currently activate smoothly to compensate for different atmospheric densities, and hovering feels more natural. All of which sounds great, because atmospheric flight model, I think, is something that, I think one of the least challenging parts of flying is the takeoff and landing, which shouldn't be. Yeah. Evening shippers, Mobile. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah. So, IKTI equals weapon in Banu. I had interesting, Charlie. Good shout for that. So yeah. Medical beds will heal radiation damage as you'd hope to with what's going on, and then it says here the transit rework continued towards the first playable version for internal validation. Again, this is going to be a little way away. This is not going to be an imminent change. The team moved to transport from push system to whatever the hell that means. To validate the new system, design trialed the transport system in the new Babbage hubs. They're currently addressing feedback and issues resulting from the test. So, in other words, they're working on a solution. It's showing promise, but it's taking a while. And they're obviously got some issues with it. Apex Valakar has hazard volumes, which is basically pools of the irradiated stuff that it spews, which will cause you damage over time. Okay, and wherever it comes up, it will spawn this little molehill thing, which is like, you know, kind of a representation of all the ground it shoves aside when it comes up, which is kind of cool. Like that. FPS radar and scanning. The devs can now specify if contacts should remain visible for extended periods after they've first been scanned, which is useful in curated situations. Additionally, they can now reduce the signature of a contact if it's considered dead. Dead NPCs are no longer detectable from the same distance as living ones. Interesting. You know, some movement in the right direction, but things, unsurprisingly, being a little bit slow and not quite there. I don't know if the image, for those that have been in the PTU, is this the existing Stormbreaker locations, or is this something else? Because it doesn't, the ground makes me think Babbage. Don't know. Someone chime in chat and I'll come back to it. So, narrative stuff, interesting. We're going to come on to this. Spectrum, unsurprisingly, it's on fire for one reason or another, but Stormbreaker and the video that we saw earlier is part of the fuel for this one. Looks like Harrison could well be. Continue work on dynamic server meshing. I love the fact that they're already talking about this. Separating whatever DGS assignment is from the territory manager. So yeah. So I just like I like the bit all this is there. Allowing compute resources to be deployed exactly where they're needed. Great. We're doing stuff to optimize server meshing is all they needed there. And I know there'll be some nerds who go, no, I understand this and this is really useful. But I'm not one of those people. I am a nerd. I'm not one of those nerds. So I don't know. I'm trying to, yeah. Evening, Napo. Good to see you, my friend. The Warlord's looking pretty good, by the way. I'm pleased, but it's in bits. I need to paint some bits before I put it together because of the way I built the legs. But we'll get there. It'll be good fun. So yeah. So a lot of this is just kind of I'm reading it through as quickly as I can, which is why I've suddenly got distracted and kind of staring at the screen a lot rather than talking to you guys. But a lot of these things are either just kind of weighed down with unnecessary jargon. Yeah. Mirai UI is what it is, I guess. And that's that. What I don't like are sentences like this, right? The new layout and shapes are a challenge to implement with the existing setup. So the team assessed the problems and rewrote the UI core to make it easier to create more interesting styles in the future. So I like the second bit. The bit that worries me is that first bit. A challenge to implement with the existing setup. And I know everything's a learning curve and I know they're working and they're constantly iterating. But we were sold on a lot of the work that they were doing was all supposed to be about laying the groundwork for when the game was, you know, we're going to put this stuff in and it's going to be really easy to add stuff and it's going to be really easy to change stuff. And, you know, we're going to create these systems and then everything that comes after it is going to be really easy to do. Yeah, Madworld, you're not wrong. Our old code is bad. Yeah, certainly. UI changes to looting in 4.2. I'm pleased. Hopefully it, you know, does some work towards not getting shot to death. Lighting supported all recent and upcoming patch releases, including adding environmental and dynamic lighting to interactable event locations in Pyro. And that one looks quite cool. Don't know if that's part of Stormbreaker or something new, but it does look kind of cool. All old code is bad code for Space Saga. Yeah, there's probably not, you know, there's probably not specific to Star Citizen either, right? So let's jump back across. Yeah, so there's that. Alien Week, we're going to go and have a look at in just a second, because I've got that picture up of the Prowler. Mark G says, after 10 years, there's so much new programming options, it's not funny. That's why they need to hurry and get the game out for a whole new code base is built. Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be one of those games where they're just going to, you know, Star Engine is going to become its own thing, and it's going to evolve so much it will be entirely unrecognizable from the engine that it was built on. you know, they are overhauling it so much, and we're not used to things like, we're like, well, it'll always be the thing that it was, right? And that's because almost all game engines at the moment are modified enough to get a product out, because behind it are the studio and the publishers, you know, like and the investors demanding their money back. So when they talk about, we're going to do this, and we're like, that's so resource intensive, and then it works, it's because they've got the time to do it. If you had that kind of that pressure behind you from investors and publishers demanding that you release a product, you'd never get round to being able to do that sort of stuff, right? And that's both the joy and the drawback of being a part of Star Citizen, is they get to do all these things and they get to show us just what they're capable of doing, but boy oh boy doesn't it take time to get there. So yeah, Mark, excellent, good to see you, my friend. I think it's already happened. Along with meshing, this will be its own sellable project for other game devs. Yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. What I think is likely happening is that they will hold on to the Star engine. They'll hold on to the product until Star Citizen hits 1.0, and then what they'll do is they'll make it commercially available under lease. I know they've said they won't at the moment, and that's because, of course, it's taking so long to do this that what they don't want to have happen is them be beaten to release on their own engine by some other studio, because that would just be, you know, imagine the headlines and, you know, IGN and all that kind of, you know, Kotaku getting hold of that, Rock Paper Shotgun, all those nightmares. They do so much damage as kind of a product. So that'll be interesting. Artemis says, I hope you've checked out the new Expanse trailer. It looks amazing. I even made a cheeky video about it. Nice, mate. Yeah, I haven't looked yet. I saw it loaded, but I was doing something else. So I've kind of added it to my watch later playlist. So I will go and have a watch of that when I get a moment. Yeah. So let's jump back across then, because it does say Alien Week on the thumbnail. So let's do Alien Week. Thinking back to that report where the report said there is something coming that is, you know, that is a variant that's just passed, is ready for release, imminent, they used the word, and the fact that this has appeared, and that looks very much like the underside of the Prowler. Yeah, Prowler. That's what it looks like. They said something, I've got my eye on you, so whether it's a recon or an exploration version, what that would look like. Maybe it's a transport, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's something that could fit an Atlas into or something. That'd be kind of really cool. Do you think Alien Week will come before the patch? I don't know. I'm guessing it'll be Thursday or Friday next week, I think. Is that right? Alien Week next week? I've got it in my head that it's next week. I don't know where that's come from. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess they kind of have to do it at roughly the same time if it's a releasable, if it's straight to flyable. Don't know. You know, PTU, PTU's been open to everyone for a while now, right? So hopefully they're almost there with it. Oh, I'm just curious, as Jared said, we will see you in 2 weeks for Stormbreak. Possibly. The new Prowler is listed under utility in game, apparently. Bizarre. What would that be then? 12th or 13th of June, which is, yeah, next week. So Thursday or Friday. Yeah. Randy, Madwald, I am not the person to be asking about graphics cards. I've been out of the loop for a while. I managed to get myself a 3080, I think, and I've just stopped watching until then. And this is what I do with graphics cards: is I then have to frantically scramble to catch up with what graphics cards I need when I need to get a new one. But I get one. That's it until I start to struggle with it. Shepherds, I agree with you, mate. An E-Warfare one would be very cool and very true to form. The thing that makes me think it's not that is because it's going straight to flyable. They're not going to do that if the gameplay loop isn't in with ships that they're releasing at the moment. So I kind of hope it's not the case, that, you know, that it could be something like that. But I wouldn't bet on it. If you're going to have a ship named the Prowler, it's only a matter of time to have a variant named the Growler, says Sebastian. I really wish I didn't read that out loud. There are some things you cannot take back. So there, I guess. But yes, we'll see. Yeah, I don't think there's much more we can say on this on Alien Week. It'll be interesting to see this come through. It'll be interesting to see what they do with whether they give us an update on progress on things like the Raelian and that sort of stuff. Don't know. But it would be nice, wouldn't it? I think there is a chance we might get a concept as well at Alien Week, because we didn't get one through ILW. Everything went straight to flyable, and maybe that's why they've not bothered, because there's one coming at Alien Week. That'd be cool. Just as a quick hey, Susan Ninja, good to see you. And anyone else that I've not managed to say hello to, hello. Sorry, I've missed you. Yeah. Just as a quick straw poll in chat, if there was going to be a alien concept next week, what do you think it would be? What would you go for? What would you bet on? What would you like to see? Whatever it is, go nuts in chat. Let me know what you'd like to see. Scout or spy, says Chavez, with a scanning rework like how the Nurser came with respawn rework. Possibly. Although from what they said there, possibly we're not quite there with scanning it, I think. A Raelian variant. Hey, Jambo, good to see you. Truther, welcome in, my friend. Nox style hovercar. Hovercar, interesting. Salvage, that would be interesting. I'd really like to see the alien alternative industrial ships come in much further down the line, when maybe they can change the mechanics around slightly, so they mine, but they mine in a different way. That would be very cool. Tavara non-military kit, says Hellwinter. Nice, welcome in, buddy. Stunner, hello, bud. Another alien starter ship or hover tank. Hover tank, yeah. I've seen that mentioned a few times as well. That's also Asperia. Oh, well. That's also Tavaran, right? So it would come under Asperia. Would love to see a mining, salvage, or cargo alien ship. Nice. The Gattack Heavy Bomber. Oh my god. The last thing we need is more bombers. With the issue of bomb racks. Like, give the Gladiator bomb racks for God's sake. You know, give the fighter bombers the actual bomber butt. Medic ship. Mining salvage variants of the Banu Defender. Interesting. Marlax 101. Hello, buddy. Stealth fighter with a medbed. Multi-role. Yeah, so the stealth fighter with a medbed, that's like, it's a Mary suit, right? Because stealth is powerful. Medbed heals you. Like, you just wouldn't need to take any other ship ever. Unless you're shifting cargo. So I'm not entirely sure that's gonna come along. I want to see a mini merchantman, says Sebastian. A dedicated ship that has a one shop. Go from planet to planet. Yeah, your food truck. Your Banu food truck. I'm all over that. So yeah, jewelry making and selling, says Rusty Pigeon. Circular craft that uses a beam to drop or extract a single player. Mark Excellent going for the full-on abduction experience. Nice. I like it. With a dome on the top and two aliens with tentacles. Cartoon style. Yeah. A medium exploration ship would be interesting to see as well. Yeah, absolutely. Argo IKTI dropship, says Jambo Tech. Yeah, why not? So yeah, Texas Zero says there is a variant of the MX to come. More, yeah, of course we had to. More bounty hunting ships. Probing, says Rusty Pigeon. That sounds like a good weekend to me. Yeah, yeah, interesting. Yeah. just as many deviants as me in chat, apparently. A stealth drone ship, Jamlak says. Yeah, the what's the word that I'm looking for? I know the word that I'm looking for. The kind of idea of a drone carrier is a very cool one, and I'd love to see something like that. I think it'd be cool. A stealth prowler with the Aegis K main deck gun type strapped on, more beams. All right, we're getting a little bit off now, aren't we? So I'm gonna I'm gonna jump to something else? Question mark. So yeah, maybe not. So yeah, one of the things I wanted to do, so I'm going to play this in the background, I guess, for a little while, and I just wanted to talk about something, because once again, Spectrum is on fire, as you might imagine. Do I want to do this now, or do I want to make this a video? I don't know, what do you think? Do I do this now, or do I make this a video? Spectrum's on fire because, broadly speaking, they are angry about two things. One, they're angry that Stormbreaker has been called exploration gameplay, and two, they are angry that it's basically org PvP murder hobo territory, right? So it's that stuff. And I've got a little bit of a different take on it. Okay. So we'll go like this, right? We'll do part of it. It won't be all of it. So when the video comes out, you guys won't feel cheated. There will be stuff in there you won't have heard at all. So yeah, so the exploration gameplay bit, people lost their shit when they said this is exploration gameplay. All right, and I get why. I'm just gonna jump across while we talk, so you guys can have something in the background to ease the eyes. Because I'm not it. Okay? So there shouldn't be any sound. We're just gonna talk while this is on. Because this is what we're talking about, right? I kind of see where they're coming from in terms of not having like exploration gameplay in this, guys. It's not. It's gonna be a PvP fest, it's PvP from start to finish. And part of the big problem with that is this idea that you can't travel around except in these shuttles that they have, right, which are radiation shielded. The problem with that is exactly the same problem as we had with Siege of Orison, which is you know precisely where players are going to be because it's the only way to get into the new zone, right? So if you want to stop people, if you're going to defend, if you're going to do an org action, you take a couple of players with grenade launchers and you just spam grenades at the door, and one guy fires, and when he shouts reloading, the other guy starts firing, right? And then they just alternate, and even if it doesn't kill you, it's going to knock you over, keep you on the shuttle, and then the shuttle's going to leave. Zone defended, full stop, the end, right? It's that simple. This is the problem with choke points in games like this. Okay, so I get that. I get that is why this doesn't make exploration. However, and this isn't what people, hopefully what people weren't expecting to hear, I see what they mean about exploration. Right? And what I hope is this does become genuine exploration in the future. Bear with me before people start getting mad. This is what I mean, okay? These locations, you go to the locations, you have an interesting new place to figure out. You rock up, forget the other players for a second, and I know you can't just magic them, make them not there, but bear with me. You rock up, there's a couple of things that you find, there's some barriers, things that you, like doors you can't get through, whatever. You can solve this and figure it out. Very much the same as Hathor was, right? You saw a blue keycard machine and you had to kind of jump around or, you know, put fuses in places to get in there. And then it's like, well, I've got a blue keycard. What does it open? And then you find blue doors and it's like, well, I can figure that out. So you put the org keycard the blue key card into the blue door, and there's a red thing behind it. Okay, interesting. So what does that open? Then you go into the main building, or maybe you do that in reverse, right? You find the red doors, then you find the red things, and you can't get to any of them, so you work back to the blue things, and then work your way up again. Whatever way you found it, if you went and just found one of these locations randomly, it would feel like exploration and problem solving, right? Location that no one knows about. There's obviously something here, because this is a cool location. And hopefully we get to say that about every Star Citizen location. Cool locations equals there's something to find, right? That would be cool. That's what exploration is going to feel like. If exploration is just taking screenshots of impressive vistas, exploration gameplay is going to be crap. It's that simple. So what we're hoping is that you go to these locations, you find it, you solve the puzzle, and then there are cool things. Be it armor, like the Antium armor that you can't find anywhere. Be it moving you on to the orbital laser platform to then go and mine. Whatever it is, if these locations were not on the map, and there were loads of them scattered around, all different ones, so like we're keeping Hathor, and now we're getting Stormbreaker, and that's going to stay. It's not an event, it's here to stay. It's going to persist now through the game, full stop. The only thing will change is, you know, I guess they'll add some puzzles, maybe the loot that you find will change, but that's it. These are things now that are ours in the verse, right? If they can start doing that, that's going to feel a lot like exploration and discovery, right? Discovery is probably a better way of finding it. You're flying around on the surface of a planet. There's no markers for something. You come across something like the Hathor site, like the data center or the research facility in Pyro, right? But there's no map. There's no marker to it. Those locations are going to be awesome, and that will absolutely be part of exploration gameplay, because no markers, no map to it, no mission for it. As they said, there's no mission. These aren't mission sites. You don't pick a contract up. The action, the things that you're doing are their own reward. Once they've got enough of these varied activities and different things in the verse, it will be legit discovery / exploration gameplay, right? These things will make sense. Oh my god, I found a location, and I'm going to pop a marker down in the map system when the map system allows me to do that, because there's radiation here, and I don't have a radiation suit, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to get a radiation suit. Or in my exploration ship, I'm now going to make sure that I have hazardous suits for extreme hot, extreme cold, radiation, EMP, whatever the other hazard things seem to be, right? So now as an explorer, having lots of different suits makes sense, right? And now setting your ship up, ready to go somewhere, makes sense. So then you do all of these things, and you get the cool stuff, and you know, you move on to the next thing. But you find it completely unalerted. The problem we have at the minute, and the reason why this is absolutely not discovery or exploration gameplay right now, is because there are only 6 locations, 4 Hathor, 2 of this, I think. It might be a few more than one of each in Pyro. I think there's a couple on Pyro 1, couple on Pyro 4, or whatever the planets are. Right, but same thing. 6, 8, whatever it is. Everyone knows where they are. The markers are there. No one has to find it. You just quantum down, and that's that. Right? Done. Sorted. So I think later on, this is really what I hope it is. Right? Can you imagine you go down as 3 or 4 of you on a Connie Aquila, right? Exploration, and then this stuff up here, right, is what you come up against. All of a sudden, you're fighting a radiated Valakar, and then you're doing that, and all of a sudden, the big one pops out, and there's 4 of you. Right? How cool is that? So that's what I'm hoping that sort of gameplay will be. Like the, hang on, that's a scanner. We need to find clothing to get through it. Right? Very much like the 2949 CitizenCon, where you had to, the character in the demo had to get the scientist's uniform to get into the data center on Microtech, right? That sort of stuff would be very, very cool as an exploration gameplay loop. Right. I'm going to get off my soapbox for a second. And now I'm going to go deal with all the crap I've caused in the comments. So let's jump back and see what people say. Hellwinter says, it's literally going to be a dungeon run. Combat, exploration, and puzzles. Yep. I want no more org-required events in gameplay. I just want more non-PvP gameplay. So, interestingly, Chavez, that, or John, sorry, because it's not Chavez, is it? You told me what it was, and I've completely forgotten. I do apologise, my friend, but I'll say John from now on. Yeah. So, interestingly, that's the other half of the video that I'm going to make. So, in terms of addressing that point, you're going to want to have a look at the video when I release it. So yeah, so I kind of agree, John. As a small group player, we get locked out of these. What I'd like to see is the law system implemented as a so there's a consequence to being a wiener. Yeah, that. I mean, it was very obvious here that what they were intending was PvP, right? That's why it was in Pyro. So this is absolutely a PvP / murder hobo fest, right? These are the adult Valakars, I think, because they are bigger than the little ones. They're bigger than the juveniles, so that's cool. Sorry, every so often I just get pulled off to the looking at the... And then there's that chuffing thing. Which still doesn't look as big as the ones that the Apex doesn't look as big as... Alright, maybe it does look as big. Alright, maybe that is as big. Fair enough. So yeah. Sorry, Charlie McCawson says, I kind of agree. As a small group player, we get locked out of these. What I'd like to see is the law system implemented as a consequence to be a wiener. Absolutely. Ray says, as it's true, it is again a gameplay for orgs or large groups. I find a little niche for me. As a solo player, a very small team, I go to this location mostly for looting. That, right? And Hathor was this as well. What was really interesting to see is for a long old while Hathor wasn't working, no one was there. Now that it started working, people are going back, but they are smaller groups. Like, even though I said there was an Idris, a Zeus, an Asgard, and Hornet going to the one where I got involved in stuff. Still only 4 people. Right? Still only 4. No, it was 2v1. So, you know, all the way through. So, it's not an awful setup. I did not do Hathor, says Malwell, but I plan to try and pick off all players just to be... Well, this is the thing at Hathor, right? Like I say, 38, 40 now, 41 blades, alignment blades. You don't need to be in an org to go down there. You absolutely do not. So yeah. I loot the new weapons or armor to provide for potential buyers or friends, I serve as a fixer or guide for people or even streamers and help them navigate in the new areas. Nice. Artemis says, let's be honest. No one is going to do any of this crap. Players and orgs will just do the most efficient meta thing, making currency rewards. EVE Online core mining, for example. Yeah, and this is what I think this is what I'm hoping that materializes in the game. Because I find that gameplay, I've never enjoyed the massive grind for money, right? I'd much rather do what I want to do. And if that means I stay poor, I stay poor, right? And then this is what I hope that happens with the orgs, right? Is they go off to do the money, to do the station stuff, and they get fed into that, right? And then they subcontract smaller groups, smaller players, groups of players, groups of friends, to then go off and do the Valakars like, hey, we need 20 Valakar pals, like bring as many as you can to us. So that sort of stuff would be cool to see. Then Maria, hello, good evening, good to see you. Welcome in. Welcome in. I feel if the worm spawns increased globally PvE, players would organically run across them and orgs would have the logistics goal of farming mass amounts of resources. It would help break huge groups apart. Yes, and this is one of the other points that's probably worth making here. They make for the game as it is at the moment, right? This is why we're not getting ships now that don't have their features, or, you know, at least the core of their features in. This is why we're not getting any more data running ships. Or if they can data run, that's not their primary purpose. They can do other stuff. So that's kind of key for me at the moment in terms of, you know, they're building for the game as it is. There is no reason later on. If you actually remember when they talked at CitizenCon, they talked about the Valakar spawning at Outpost, right? and that all of a sudden the people in the outpost would attack the Valakar without any extra scripting. They just went, here's a Valakar that we've scripted, or that we've made. We put it next to an outpost, and without us doing anything, they're fighting each other. And they were like, that was really exciting to see. Also, bear in mind, this is the irradiated Valakar, not the normal Valakar. So, or the non-irradiated, the non-Chernobyl Valakar. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see that happen. I think that's going to work. I think having them at a couple of locations, rather than having to deal with them spawning in places and all that sort of stuff, I think that's a good way to introduce them. And then hopefully, like you say, that's the way that they will go. Mobile says, on the subject of buying players, anyone got any JS 400 for sale? I don't know what that is, but sure. Add the radiation suit to a rare spawn in loot boxes, and the zone becomes just a faster way to get a set. Let the items and one spawning lead to the site so people know that it's there. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly ways that they could have done this better, right? And I don't need to point this out to anyone. You know, this was an ideal situation for ground vehicles, right? So you have the storm, which is causing people to crash out of the storm. Well, vehicles are aft. Literally, by definition, they're on the ground. So let them do that, okay? Maybe it's ground vehicles only. Maybe they go, hey, it'll be ground vehicles later on, but we didn't want to see people who have bought, they had a choice to buy a Dragonfly or a Nurser, something like that, and they went for the Dragonfly. We don't want to see them off, especially when things like the Cyclone isn't yet in. Well, sorry, not the Cyclone, the bike. You know what I'm talking about, that thing, right? Ranger. So yeah, I think there's I think there's other ways they could have done it, right? One of the interesting posts I saw on Spectrum was the idea that they could have done dropships. So they could have said dropships were shielded against the distortion. So all of a sudden, dropships actually make sense now in this kind of sandbox activity. Because now, the entire point of a dropship is realised. Taking troops down to a fight and then getting them out again. Dropship gameplay. Ta-da! So I like that idea, whoever that was. But yeah. Take the markers off and move the shuttle stations when it goes to PU? Possibly. I mean, I think some of these locations, you still want them to be highlighted. I think they can just add others as they go on, right? So the first iteration, you're just going to have to put up with this pain, because people will whinge like mad things if they add this new crazy cool thing to do and then don't let you get there. They go, hey, it's somewhere on Pyro 1. Good luck. That's like, I don't know if anyone's noticed, the planets are really bloody big. And that's just not going to happen. So, yeah. This just seems like theatres of war in game. So yeah, I think they're going to be these, like I say, these exploration / discovery locations on the map that are going to be helped much more later on when we start getting things like, when we get a lot more gameplay in, when there's a lot more locations to go, when we get things like mapping. Right, because they talked about this when they showed Star Map back in, whatever it was, whatever CitizenCon, the one in America. They started talking about going to a map terminal to download maps, that you would have the standard one with like the tourist locations, but if you want to be like a local and know all the really cool places to go that are off the tourist track, you go see a local map vendor, and that's where players, exploration, cartography, having locations, being able to put down your own locations in these places, being able to put down a beacon to quantum to, org encoded beacons that require data running to crack. Can you see where I'm going with this? They could do so much in kind of allowing people to find these locations, use them, enjoy them, and make players feel like they're finding things, even though we're all on these planets, right? The 5 systems at 1.0 at minimum. There's a lot they could do with it. Madwad, good night, mate. Sleep well, and I'll see you soon. I wonder what CIG can do to help randos and pugs to group up for an event like this. Yeah, the social system is going to be really important. Really important with this sort of stuff. Also, I think they need to find a way to stop the murder hoboing. DayZ struggles with this. Some of the most satisfying experiences you can have in DayZ is when you get held up by players or you hold up other players and they play along, right? So if they can just stop, you know, put your hands up, they put their hands up, you can handcuff them, you can put a bag over their head, you go through their bag. The way people get away with that is they don't get greedy. So they'll do things like, hey, your rifle, I'm going to take your rifle because I don't want you shooting me when I'm running away from you. But I'm going to leave you your pistol because we all need to be able to stave the zombies. And, you know, like, I'm going to leave you some ammo for it. But, you know, I need some food, so I'm going to leave you this. And it's almost like a barter system. That person doesn't get to say no. It's like held up at gunpoint. The problem is, so many people in the game just want to shoot each other. So you go to do that, and it's just like, ugh. So those encounters become boring and tedious because someone fires, the zombies start coming, and it's just like, ugh. Like, I'd rather dodge the zombies if it's okay to everyone else. Because the minute you start shooting, you give your location away. But yeah, there's certainly things that they can do. I may try Hatherwood. Mad Wild, I don't know if you're going to watch this last bit back, or whether you're still lurking as you're getting yourself ready, but if you want to, mate, come see us on a Friday, whatever. More than happy to show new players done. Rusty Pigeon, good to see you, my friend. Have a good night. Sloth says a good number of larger orgs have already grinded for their Polaris, which is one of the biggest reasons for it to be contested so heavily. Not completely safe, but a lot safer than it was to go to Hathor. Yeah, I think I've died in PvP in Hathor maybe 3-4 times in all of that time, and I don't win many PvP fights on foot. So, you know, and a couple of those deaths were my fault entirely. Me not listening to my own advice about taking a good fight. So yeah, Hathor's definitely worth going and having a look. Saw the Ninetales NPCs engaging the Valakors at Hathor. Yeah, that's really cool to watch them fighting each other. It's a bit of a shame to like see them fighting and then you zoom away and you do a couple things and you come back a minute later and they're still stood in the same places, still fighting each other. They need to be lethal against each other, you know, after a point. But still, I mean, considering the fact that go back a year, NPCs would just let you run around a bunker and knife every single person without anyone reacting. We're in a lot better place than we were. Whatever happened with the Reliant camera ship gameplay, Sebastian, that's going to be a long time coming, but it's very cool. You're talking about the Mako. Yeah, I like the Mako. I like that idea. Player-run news channels, reporters, org, propaganda, and all that sort of stuff. Even if it only happens exterior to the game, because of course CIG, if they're providing a platform for people to broadcast to other people in game, they have to have some measure of being able to assure the content and stuff. And you know what gamers are like. They'll scream whatever they want. Someone will get angry with CIG and then they'll just start chanting some slurs or whatever over the in-game feed. So I don't think we're ever going to get that far, although I would love it if we were. You know. I guarantee you players won't want to play jail 24/7, nor will they want to owe players and run themselves into debt due to how much they owe. Getting their game contracts tarnished would hit home. Yeah, I think player reliability scores and like the feedback system is going to go a big way to stopping this from happening. And I think getting crime stat and having that impact. So rather than just, oh, I'm going to choose to be a criminal for now, and then I'm going to go to prison, and then I'm going to act like it never happened, that I think that's going to go away, and you're going to end up either leaning into lawful, unlawful, or hopefully there'll be a grey area in the middle where you can basically be lawful to players but unlawful to like the UEE stuff. So you can do the whole, you know, buck the system, you know, against the, you know, the powers that be and all that sort of stuff. You can. That'd be cool, right? Obviously not, because I've lost about 8 viewers since I started that rant. So 8 people didn't agree with me. Oh well, never mind. If you want them to come back, there is a like button, you know, and it helps people kind of come back. So up to you, but it might be worth giving it a go. Give it a try, see what happens. So Mark says they shoot each other because there's no incentive to work together and no penalty for not. Exactly that. Exactly that. Charlie McCaution says, like I mentioned, we need pyros and nicks for mad PvP, but much more intense penalties and stunts need to be implemented. The bounty system and jail penalties need to be strengthened. Yeah, and I think going back to that, if you have this feedback from people, and when reputation becomes reputation, if there are certain doors you can just close and not have reopen, I think people would be a little less kind of inclined to... Sorry, I've got an itchy leg, which is why I keep coming forward like that. I keep trying to scratch it. But yeah. Going down. If you pitch developing the Reliant camera as a good way to record PvP, we might get it sooner, says Tech. Yeah, there's a lot of anger at PvP at the minute, and that's... I don't think this is happening for the reason people think. Long story short, I think we made CIG do this, and that's going to be the other half of that video, which I'll do next week. I know I said I was going to get one out this week, and I've had a week off, but yeah, it's just not happened, unfortunately. So I will get round to it. The downside is, if you've got anyone that enjoys Star Citizen, might be worth mentioning the channel, because I'm watching particular streamers and everyone, or YouTubers, and everyone will know the particular one that I'm talking about, those that hang around with me in Discord, is catching me up rather rapidly, and he's just a negative asshole. So let's make sure we stay ahead, right? Because do we honestly want to reward people like that over people that are trying to be a little bit kind of supportive about the game? Give it a go. Let's see. We actually have criminal records for our characters. Would be cool if these were considered, even if every instance was erased owing to mental instability. Lol. Yeah, that. Other than Gladiator, which ship do you think we should push for best in show? Honestly, I know this is going to be unfair, and I don't really mean this to be the snipe that it's going to sound like, John. I couldn't care less. The best in show thing, I just... It's such a... it's so not connected to the sort of systems that I want to see ships get that sort of stuff in. You know, maybe, just maybe, do best in show by what people are flying. So do an industrial, and, you know, a cargo, and a this, and a that, and reward them with best in show. And if the best in show, you know, the most flown ship was best in show last year, give it number 2, give it number 3, give it number 4, and so on and so forth. That, you know, because people go, oh, I'm gonna tell everyone to do this skin because I don't have one for this ship yet, and whereas actually people need to put their money where their mouth is, and yeah, that. T-Jack says, going to prison and just logging out is literally no different than cargo haulers hitting Alt F4 when they're caught by pirates. Yeah, I think they're kind of beginning to fight that now, in that if your flag is being in combat and you Alt F4, your character stays put. I don't know if that's working properly, but that's the intention. It's the same with is the itchy leg the middle one? Good God, man. I don't know how to respond to that. Yeah. It's the same with DayZ and similar stuff, right? You can't just Alt F4 and escape. That sort of stuff. And I think, you know, if people do that in future, the Alt F4, I think that should also carry implications. Like, for example, you cannot be rescued. So if you Alt F4 in combat, because the game can track what you're pressing, right? So if you Alt F4 and the game registers that, you lose that clone. Because you got yourself into that situation. Like, you've got to deal with the consequences. Even if you didn't want to, you know, welcome to a game that is not. What is your snack of choice when playing Star Citizen? Peanuts. I like peanuts. I don't know what it is. Something about peanuts that, so the salt in peanuts especially salted ones. If you have seasickness, I found they always help settle me. And there's something about that. So any time I'm feeling a little bit unsettled, stomach feels funny, whatever, salted peanuts make me feel great. So yeah, or at least less ill. Please note that there is no medical underpinning to this whatsoever. This just works for me. What about yours, Sebastian? What about everyone's? What is everyone's snack of choice while playing a game? I know you're going to lie and go, Badgers, you obviously eat Krispy Kreme while playing. Go away. That's mean. Pizza roll, says Hellwinter. Nice. I'm a bit disappointed with best in show paint last year. CIG show what the plans are for the paint, and I'll see if I engage with it. Yeah, absolutely. Stella, that's not a snack. Charlie Bourbon is... Hey, we are drinkers with gaming problems, right? So yeah, pretzels for me, says Sebastian. Nice. Yeah, it's that sort of stuff. Or here's a weird one. Especially if I'm having a drink, I do quite like just a little block of feta, and I just nibble at it. Feta cheese. I quite like that too. But yeah, it's a life choice. It is. Yeah, or maybe it's not a choice, it's a lack of options, right? But yes. So yeah, one of the other interesting things, of course, is the announcement that the IKTI, both versions are not, at least for the moment, going to be sold. And yeah, that's an interesting choice by CIG. I'm kind of pleased. I'm just going to find there was a very interesting post on Spectrum saying the same thing, and it's got a great image of how you will earn both of these things in game. And spoilers, it's not as bad as people think. What was very interesting was to see that you know, straight away people were jumping all over YouTube. You might or might not know who I'm talking about, trying to create drama out of that rather than the exploration thing. So the, you know, CIG player, or, you know, Star Citizen players whinge about not being able to buy blades, and then whinge about not being able to buy the IKTI. And actually, that doesn't seem to be the response of most of the people in on Spectrum. And we all know that if people are going to whinge, they'll do it on Spectrum, right? We all know that that's how that works. So I'm just going to jump across. Let's jump across and have a look. There we go. Glowy Armor, the Anna Armor set, which is the one you already get from him. Irradiated Valakar Pearls and Apex Eradicated Valakar Fangs. So, yeah. Big stuff. The Make Atlas Shoot. Atlas and the NN13 cannon, which it sounds like will still be stuff you'll have to find. But, of course, because it's an object you can trade, you might be able to buy it with people, you might be able to get it off a friend. Apparently it can be salvaged, so there's that option. And then if you want to make it the Geo IKTI version, you buy the Atlas. You buy the Atlas Geo, which will be available in-game, NN13, and 10 Wicklow Favors. And then you've got the jumpy version of the IKTI. Don't know why I'm telling people that. I don't think people should have that, but yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So this is the interesting bit is... Hey, Stimpack, welcome in, my friend. Hello, Shady Face, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, I don't necessarily have a philosophical problem with this being earned in game only. I don't have a problem with it. I get it. It's not the same as Blades, right? Blades were selling something that they haven't sold in game before. They were selling components for a ship for real world money. I get that. I made that argument too. I agree with that 100%. We have already sold the Atlas and the Atlas Geo, so the argument that you shouldn't be able to sell the Atlas IKTI is doesn't follow logically. However, I don't think they should ever be hammered for things that you can only earn in game, right? It's a very odd thing to say, well, everything in game should be buyable with real world money. I don't think that's, and I think they're hopefully we'll see them begin to pivot away from that, while still finding a way to be able to fund the game. But I mean, maybe this gets sold later on down the line, and this is all a moot argument. Maybe it's just the Wicklow version, as you say, that gets in game. But then again, we've seen things like the Anna armor set, as far as I've seen so far, is only available from Wicklow, or you can buy the glowy subscriber version if you want to. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So Charlie says, I said that earlier, I believe it's because it's a chop shop job and the real one's coming, very possibly. Bombay Mix says, Jamlack. Hey, how very 1970s of you, sir. Atlas is one of the big earning sale vehicle made, so there'll be a combat model for sale in a while, possibly. I saw a lot of people on Spectrum Reddit crying about not being able to justify just buy the IKTI for real world money. Yeah, so interestingly, this one, and I kind of get it, right? So if we go up to the top, this was kind of interesting. Make the IKTI an in-game exclusive earnable that can be acquired by both PvE and PvP is the biggest step you've taken in the right direction in little months when it comes to monetization. Yeah, so interesting. Not wanting to be that guy, but this is my favourite Star Citizen YouTube channel. Thanks for all you do and keep it going. Cheers. Sebastian, you're very welcome, my friend, and I'm pleased you're enjoying it. Thanks, Tim Park. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. They'll be able to buy the standard IKTI, just not the Wicklow IKTI. Yeah, I mean, if that's the way it goes, then that's the way it goes, right? I do think, however, that not selling stuff and making it available in game, only in game, is not a bad thing, right? Elliot said as much. I don't think he did in that video, did he? He just said it that this is going to be exclusive in game. Let's have a look. Yoink. Where's the silly bit where he does all the walking around? Yes, this bit. There we go. So, let's go there. And there. Okay. I'm just going to kill the music for a second. Yoink.
Run amok. You can find new battle vehicles that can only be earned in game. I said choo choo as well. This isn't a fucking train. It's got massive weapons.
No, you just get like. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. He's got the acting qualification, I don't.
I want players to feel something different to what they've been feeling when playing Star Citizen.
This bit with a hot drop is kind of cool. Right, prepares us for Titanfall. That's kind of cool. Yeah, he said it in a Salty Mike stream on Tuesday morning. Interesting. Yeah, if you could find the link for us, that'd be ideal. Because I'd be interesting to see that they're going that way. Sorry, I'm just mucking around, putting the music back on. There we go, and changing the tune because those two are not that it matters. It's not monetized, but yeah. It's interesting that people are upset that some stuff's not being sold. I'm not sure I get the logic. Because if everything in the game is available for real world money, what's the point in playing? right? What's the point in earning up to anything? You know, because even for the players who go, well, not everyone can afford it, 100%. Absolutely, you'd be mad. Even if you could afford it, you'd be mad to actually spend the money on this sort of stuff. And yes, we are mad as a community, right? But if you spend 6 months earning up to your Idris, Javelin, whatever, right, and someone can just buy it like that, it completely destroys the point of being able to do it in the game. Hey, Timble. Good to see you, my friend. Charlie says, to clarify what I mean, I believe a non-Atlas combat mech suit will be coming for actual sale. Yeah, so there's a couple that we've seen, like the concept art, that's the word I'm looking for a lot of the Atlas vehicles, made them look a lot less power loader with some strapped on guns. They actually looked really, really cool and designed to carry it, because one of them was carrying the gun in both hands, like you carry a smart gun in Aliens. Looks really cool. And it was the effect coming out of the gun was like a lightning. So it was like an arc weapon rather than a beam weapon. It might have just been the combat art. I'm sure it is. I don't think I've ever heard them talk about arc weapons. But yeah, it is very cool. Raygun says, one thing that's missing is the ability to claim ownership of the IKTI that you find, or transfer ownership to players that you would like to sell to, and finally include it in the insurance system we have. Yeah. This is definitely in my top 15 SE YouTube channels. Thanks, Tech. Appreciate it, mate. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, some chatters were complaining about it not being, the IKTI not being on the pledge store. He said only the Wicklow IKTI would not be on the pledge store. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting, because that's not the statement they made. And it wasn't a live video, so that would be really annoying if that's the way they're going. Because once again, it might not be what they meant to say, but that's the way they've communicated. And not everyone is going to watch everything as this evidences, right? Not everyone's going to watch Salty Mike stream at the precise moment they clarify what was going on. So, yeah. Not great. Sorry, that was loud. Law says a combat suit was developed by people on a planet that was wiped out by bad guy elements, developing the suit to fight back. Nice. Yeah. IKTI will be available only in new sandbox areas to start with, says Stimpuck. That's to get people to try it out. Later it'll be more ready available. Yeah, I mean, I think the precise things around the IKTI, maybe muddying the waters and what's been said and what's not been said. I think the point that I'm trying to get at here is it would be nice to see them start to move to things that you can only earn in game. So it's great that subscriber stuff has become available through like loot boxes and rare stuff and all that. But it would be nice, like with the Antium armor, the Anna armor, the stuff covered in bones and horns and stuff from Wicklow, if that sort of stuff could only be earned in game. And I know there's the subscriber version available of that. I'm not sure if it's available in the Antium yet. I'm sure it will be later on in other loot boxes. But at the moment, if you want Antium, you go to Hathor. If you want the Anna stuff, you go to Wicklow and do whatever it is he's asking for. So yeah, and some of his stuff requires you either to have ores that are from the Hathor, or for you to trade them from other players. So yeah, there's some really interesting bits. Do you have this soundtrack? Where do you get it? So it does have the other noises, unfortunately. It was just a straight audio rip from the final sequence of, when they escape in the drop pod. It is just a straight rip of that sequence, unfortunately. I did also try to rip the bagpipe music off of the Sounds of the Verse video that they did. The problem is they keep going through 3 different types of recording. It was like recorded on an iPhone, pre-production, post-production, to show you how cool the music is. And when you strip the visuals out and just play the music, it's very obvious that you're listening to 3 different versions of the same track, or 3 different quality of the same track, and it becomes massively jarring. So I've not included it. But yeah. So it's interesting. The one thing I will say is I'll back up what I said last week, which is they are doing a very, very good job at the moment of making Star Citizen enjoyable. I feel like it's in a good place. I do feel like it's in a good place. And getting better. Again, being able to come down, like, I love doing the Hathor stuff. It's a shame. I mean, we will, as an org, we'll go and do the Stormbreaker stuff. And we'll get our backsides handed to us, I'm sure. Because we're just not... We don't organise like that. It's just a group of people playing a game at the same time, joining in, you know, against people who are, you know, sweat lords. We're just not going to stand a chance. Especially not the way that it's been built. But, you know, it's just a shame they haven't learnt the lessons from Origin. Question for the Badger: what ships have you purchased? Asked Stimpack. I'll show you in just a second if you like. Stormbreaker will be our time to shine at Hathor. Possibly. It might be. It might not be. Oh, hang on. Right. I need to very quickly. I'm just going to go and find my Fleet Viewer thing whilst we're here. Yeah, I feel like, you know, it's going to be interesting because as they add more locations in, so as Stormbreaker gets added, the attention on Hathor will drop, and what you'll get at Hathor is you'll get a sudden surge in the number of 1 or 2 or 3 people who haven't tried it yet, precisely because it's been the playground of orgs up until now. And then loads of people will go and do Stormbreaker, and then as they add more sandbox locations, and I'm hoping we get at least 1 more this year, right? Possibly a few more. As they add more and more of these locations, the players will become more spread out amongst it. People will get to do it a few times and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's going to be an interesting selection of missions and sandbox activities that, like I said when I was talking about discovery and exploration gameplay, that will give us these locations to go and explore, to go and enjoy, to go and you know, get some loot that you can't kind of get anywhere else. That'll be fun to get, right? I think those sorts of things are absolutely what is needed in the game right now. And we're getting them. As for what they're adding in terms of PvP, Murder Hobo and stuff, like I said, I'm going to do a video on that this week. I only really started reading into Spectrum this evening in prep for talking to you guys, and it was the first thing that entered my head when I was reading this stuff was, but, and we'll go on to that. Not to say that there aren't valid concerns about things being PvP on Murder Hobo. It's more a case of we should have seen this coming, right? Because of us, not because of them. So yeah, I'm just going to jump across and we'll have a quick look at the fleet. I have a cunning plan, Blackadder, says Jademo. Nice. There's always some complaints, but the library of stuff to do expanding is amazing. Bring in Nyx. You think this year? No. We're not getting Nyx this year. No way. Absolutely not. If we were going to get Nyx this year, it got collaboshed in March when they said they were going to focus on stability and bug fixing. So I think it's going to be a while yet. Unless the planning is a surprise launch, because as we saw, there were absolutely no mention in the progress reports at all. And it's not going to suddenly... Look, I mean, look how long we saw parts of Pyro in 2019. It was all they showed in 22, 23, 24 Citizen Cons. Maybe not so much 24. 24 was past Pyro. But you get my point, right? So, yeah. Sorry, I feel like I've done nothing but just kind of crap on people's ideas. It would be lovely for it to be this year. It absolutely would. I do think, however, that they're going to get better at pumping out systems. And I would hope that what we'll see is more systems than what they scheduled at 1.0. I think in terms of the amount of features they need to add versus the amount of locations they need to add, I think they're going to run out of systems long before they run out of features. So hopefully that's what makes it up for it, Charlie. Is that I think we're going to end up with possibly 6, 7 systems at 1.0, just because they're like, hey, I know we said 5, but we've run out. Either that, or they know this, and that the Terra system will be sublime. Because I know that they talked about a while ago, and I don't know if it was Terra or Earth that they were talking about, because I think they separate them. Someone check my math on this. That there were going to be multiple unique landing zones, which would massively increase the production time. And if you can do that for different planets in the system and make it genuinely like the jewel, the hub of the game at launch, maybe that takes longer, right? But we'll see. John says, I would love an event where a volcano erupts, bringing up a massive amount of resources, but the S-Cloud prevents ships like current storms. They need to start showing us the utility of ground vehicles. Even if it's things like, turn distribution centers into absolute murder holes for ships. And then, give it decent shields so even, rail guns and that are just dinking off it. And then maybe they've got, like, ship breaker weapons, so they fire back with their own rail guns and whatever else. So much so that you have to approach. So you have to land off, you have to approach. Again, dropships, Asgard, Valkyrie, suddenly usable, suddenly vital, right? And that sort of stuff. Remember, people, it costs nothing to like the stream if you're enjoying it. Thank you, Tech. Yeah, and it can easily be taken away if badges shit's on your question. I got nothing on that. As far as the fleet goes, these are the ships that I own at present. It's a little bit of a weird collection. I'm going to zoom in a bit more. Hopefully you can see most of that. Maybe not. So yeah, so basically up here in the top left, we've got an Ursa, Medevac, and a Vulture, and the reason they're there is they are either referrals or built-off referrals. So I got a referral Steve, which is now the Nursa, and the Vulture was the Gladius. It's gone up. Before I really knew what I was doing with CCUs and the danger of doing that. So the Vulture is going to be like my starter industry ship when I get to the game, unless I find something that I absolutely want to keep, and then I'll upgrade those into that. Across the centre there, okay, are the ships that I'm using a lot at the moment. The C8R Pisces and the Terrapin Medic are great for locations like Hathor and bunkers. The Sea-Run Spirit tends to be my daily flyer, if I'm not doing any of the above. The Retaliator was a lot of fun as a torpedo bomber. I've left it in that row because it was a gift from someone. So I'm loath to get rid of it because I don't like changing ships that people have given me. The Taurus, keeping that. It's my cargo ship. It's about as big as I can get and manage on the cargo front. Any more loading boxes than that thing, my eyes start to go squiffy. So yeah, especially if you're loading things like salvage, because they're all 1 SCU boxes from the Vulture, and that makes my eyes bleed. So I'd rather not. The Reclaimer is going to be, I think, my kind of group gameplay industry ship. Still with the salvage role, but I kind of like it. I love it as a ship. I think it looks gorgeous. And the Perseus. Because Perseus, that doesn't need any explanation, right? What I've noticed is no one said Kraken in the stream, so Kraken. No reason, just needs to be said, so Charlie. Or not. Yeah, no. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the Kraken. Because hopefully, as they're working on Drake, maybe the Kraken will be one of the ships that they work on. We got the Idris in game, why not? Then down here, if we just zoom in here a little bit, we have, for no particular reason, the Pulse MPUV Tractor, Atlas and Sulen. Some of these were given, so I would review them, so like the Sulen, for example. So these tend to be, these are all LTI tokens. Basically, they're going to become something, or they'll get melted down and, you know, go towards something else. And then the Intrepid was actually gifted as a game package. So I have another game package on this account. So yeah, that's my fleet at the moment. As for what I bought out of that, I don't want to talk about it, it's embarrassing. But basically, more of that fleet has been gifted to me than I bought myself. Streamer privilege, I guess. But for those people who have gifted, and you know who you are, I'm very thankful that you have. I think I've reached a point kind of at the moment, I'm frantically saving for a house. For those that don't know, I'd lived with someone, we married, had a house, we parted ways, and I haven't got back to house ownership since that happened. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, that's what I'm saving for, that's what my life is geared towards, and obviously buying spaceships in a game doesn't really kind of, is not conducive to that goal. So yeah. Nator, hello mate. Daily driver is currently the Idris, the auto loading station to station trading. No combat means I can probably do this even after engineering comes in. Yeah, I think the prices for those ships are going to go up massively in terms of their operating costs day by day. And I can also see them gradually starting to send the tasks out elsewhere. So I think, you know, things like the chin gun is going to be another station later on in the game. I think at the moment it makes sense. Maybe, but certainly later on, I think these things are going to be set out, because at the moment the pilot is the boss. The pilot is the daddy, right? Pilot, captain, same thing. Later on, that's going to change in multi-crew, and the pilot will have enough to do without worrying about everything else that's going on with the ship. So yeah, but yes, the Idris certainly, whilst it's, you know, they've said that the Idris can be your daily driver in game, it just, I don't think they've made any kind of commitment as to how much it's going to cost to keep those things running, and that would make sense, right? I think certain things like, for example, the bigger the ship, the more times you go through atmosphere, the more damage it's going to do, the more maintenance the ship's going to require. Things like shuttles make sense if they can basically go into and out of atmosphere with impunity, right? All of a sudden the shuttle makes sense. Why have a shuttle on an Idris if you can just land the Idris and it doesn't do you any more harm than if you were going to take the MPUV personnel or the Pisces down? That's where these choices are going to start to come in, I think. So yeah, let's jump back to this. Boing. So yeah, that's the fleet at the moment, and that's where we are with the game. I find the IKTI thing, time will only tell as these things, as more and more people get them, just how powerful and how challenging they are going to make ground combat. I think the thing that worries me here is that, again, solo players are going to struggle. Not just because the IKTI itself is going to be a bit of a challenge. I welcome that. The problem is the weapons that we currently have to deal with the IKTI, because it will be out in the open 9 times out of 10, because it's too big to fit in a lot of places. The problem with that is that the weapons that you're going to choose are not the weapons you would choose to take on normal players on foot. So not only are you now having to deal with something with 2 size 1 guns on it, and repeaters at that, you're also then having to change gun to deal with the 3 other people. You're just dead. That's not a winnable engagement. Stimpack says, thanks for showing us your fleet. I only own 2 ships, Pioneer and Hully. I think it'll be a very long time before I'm flying either of them. They are big ships, my friend. Hopefully you haven't fallen foul of the buy big and earn down thing, because I don't think that's how it's going to work. But yeah, just make sure you have a plan for day one. It might be that that's your plan, right? That you're going to earn up and, you know, earn everything in game from the start, and that's great news. If that's your plan, awesome, enjoy. Just be very careful right off the bat. That's holy cow, that's a big old ship. So yeah, I think that's the thoughts on the IKTI, and then you add on to the IKTI Geo or Geo IKTI, whatever it's called. The idea that it can actually jump around a bit as well. So, you know, now I basically need to pack a railgun. That's it. because even if I drop grenades, they're going to hit the ground. If it boosts away from them, grenade launcher won't work. Animus missile launcher, you're really going to have the time to lock onto it and fire, or you're just going to have to dumb fire and hope you hit. Again, if it boosts, you know, maybe those missiles move fast enough. Yeah, locking the IKTI beyond gameplay sounds like some weird play to win or something. Yeah, that. It's that. It's not the mech suits. It's the mech suits versus normal people that kind of worries me on that front. You know, even if you talk about something like, for example, Hathor, the main alignment building, you put an IKTI in there, it's going to suffer, right? You've got so many angles you can come at it from. And then even if it puts itself in a corner to try and defend itself, it becomes great. You just throw grenades into that corner and you're going to start damaging it. And the great thing about grenades is they don't require line of sight. So in those situations, not so much. You can imagine if you can manage to fit an IKTI into the doors of one of the underground facilities, nothing's coming through those doors, right? Especially not if you manage to get it onto the lift. If you get it onto the lift somehow, and you know play as well, right? Because people go, oh, it doesn't fit. Yeah, ships don't fit into station lobbies, but they manage to get them in there somehow. Sitting in there and just aiming through that gap, because trying to find the right angle to bounce a grenade into that room is just, yeah, good luck with that. So yeah, I think they've got some balancing issues with the Atlas. And we'll have to see. You don't need to damage it, you just need to damage the person in it. Yeah, but again, that requires you getting around the side of it, and that's why I don't like the idea of the jump jets, the jump pack. I think if it's on foot, the speed at which they turn, you could potentially get close and be able to fire through into the side where there's no armor. But still, looking at the front of it, if it's down below you, if you're looking up, if you angle up, there's no line of sight but the grenade to your face, right? It's just bouncing off the armor. You've got to get it round and behind. Whereas if you're bouncing the grenade off, like dropping it down the back of the suit, where all the components are, or the component, the battery and whatever else. Like for the mine hole, an IKTI in the main Hathor building is what a Fury is for. People miss out on what that little bugger can do. With cannons, explosive radius, it slaughters players too. Yeah, I mean, again, the thing there is that if you have a couple players in there with rail guns, once it's down on that level, there are so many places you can be. If a group of players are going to put all their people into the path, into the ground building, they deserve it. They've got it coming. If you've got a couple people scattered around outside as well, for precisely that reason, to keep eyes on, you got someone on the hill with a sniper rifle and a missile launcher, that's when it starts to get problematic. IKTI pilot takes damage to his arms and legs. We've seen this. Good. Well, that's good news. If that is the case, then great. That's one of the balance issues. So it's aim for the arms and all that sort of stuff. Don't they have a chuffing great gun shield though on the arms? Or is that just the Wicklow version? Have they taken that off? Maybe they've gone, maybe that's a bad idea. Yeah, I do have music playing, but it's really quiet at the minute. I don't even know what the let's go with that instead. I wonder if SC will have man pads in the end, specifically for ships. I mean, that's what the Animus is, right? They're small missiles, they're tiny missiles, but it is still a man pad thing. Yeah. So, for those that don't know, man pads are man-portable air defense systems, i.e. shoulder-mounted, like the Stigler or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go with this and that sort of stuff. What I'm hoping is that the stability continues on. I'm just going to pop something back on the screen because that suddenly washed me out completely. There we go. That they, you know, managed to do something about the transit system, that they managed to fix freight elevators, they managed to fix hangars by the end of the year. I'm hoping that they managed to do 1 or 2 more sandbox activities after Stormbreaker, and I guess, like, it's very likely there'll be something like that for, like, the storyline finale towards the end of the year. Yeah. And then slowly, if they can add locations in, like, maybe not the whole Hathor thing, but just a location puzzle, right? So you get there and there are doors to get through and, you know, there's things to move and relays to use and all that sort of stuff. And then there's some sort of, kind of like the remote asteroid bases are. Right? Because it's easy to forget that they exist. It's easy to forget that they're there. But you've got the scorched armor. You've got the scorched sites and the attachments. And there are a lot of those locations around the verse at the minute. So there's definitely, you know, kind of lots of things to do out there. Things to get involved in. Lots of things to have fun with. Yeah. Quick. End of the stream. I'm the #1 viewer, says Tech. Anyone want to knock him off the #1 spot? You know, feel which? Simple rifle fire can kill an IKTI pilot. Yeah, it's not so much that it can't be killed. It's the issues with it. It's the fact that there's the armor plate. You've got to aim for very specific areas, and then there's the issues with star citizen hit reg. I've fired lots of shots at the heads of stuff who is not invulnerable, but because they're slightly above like some piece of metal or whatever, it doesn't seem to hit, even though I'm watching the shots graphically hit their helmets. It's not actually hitting them, and if the same problems persist into the IKTI, that's going to be even worse. You get yourself into the right position, you shoot your shots, you did everything right, but because of a game bug, the guy in the IKTI survives and then rails you with his 2 size 1 repeaters. Like, that's rage inducing, because you did everything right against the IKTI, but because of the game, dead. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening at the minute, I'm just saying that if those issues persist, I'd rather CIG demonstrate to us that those issues are fixed before they give ones that are extra mobile with a jetpack that can negate a lot of what you're doing just by jumping around. Because you'd think things like the IKTI would be far more suited to outside than in. So, you know, that sort of stuff. So, Charlie says there are a lot of old events they can bring back too, like the Scavenger of the Fleet mission that's been gone for a while. There's a lot of old usable stuff. I'm really hoping that with the Siege of Orison stuff comes back now that server meshing's in, now that AI is being a lot more reactive, now that they're engaging you at greater ranges, and they seem to be, at least, although they're probably not, it's just the way it feels, working together against you. Siege of Orison is going to be a lot of fun. Stunner says, if you remember back, they talked about missions being able to chain and continue if the player wanted to. They also use all these new mission locales for new chain play in the future. Yeah, so some of those, it might take you to those locations for something completely different. And hopefully what they are doing as well, and they kind of have with Hathor, there's a couple of buildings and a couple of locations you can't yet access. There doesn't seem to be, I guess they're just spawn closets for now. But adding different parts in that activate for different reasons would also be very cool, right? But yeah. Stimmax says, my favourite thing to do in the game at the moment is looting the Hathor sites, 100%. Same for a lot of us, I think. It certainly is mine at the moment, because it feels like I'm not just run in, shoot 16 NPCs, run out again. This is run around, get stuff. Maybe you've got to wait for the keycards to spawn. You know, maybe you're then dealing with PvP, you know, or trying to avoid PvP if you don't want to engage with it. There's a lot of fun to be had at Hathor. If anyone wants to get involved in Hathor, links in the Discord, in the description below to our Discord. You can just come in, join, Friday, 9 PM, so the same time that this stream started today. On a Friday, come join us. We go and do Hathor, or we'll do some other stuff. And if people have something they definitely want to do, let us know in the chat during the week, and we'll set something up. But that's the whole point. No, you don't need to be in any org. You just come along, join us, have fun, get drunk, vent about your week, whatever else. I don't tend to record or let anyone stream from those, because it's people's chance to vent and just kind of like have their week and make jokes that you don't want to be part of the internet record, that sort of stuff. But yeah. TJ says instance raids are going to be amazing, I think. Yeah, these are the kind of like sewers and the public works area they had at Art Corp they were showing. Yeah, that stuff's going to be a lot of fun. To be able to get in there and just worry about PvE and not constantly worry about players coming up to gank you from behind. Yeah, we're going to spend a lot of time in there as an org, I think. We're going to have a lot of fun in those. It should be good fun. Yeah, there's a lot in the game, I think, that's to be optimistic about right now. A lot of locations coming in, creatures and that appearing. If they can continue this rate up to the end of the year, I kind of like them to be smashing out a few more of the bugs. They're obviously doing some work, right? Because Hathor's now working where it wasn't before. So Hathor is now reliably working, certainly on the alignment facilities. As Sloth said, it seems to be working on the stations with the batteries as well. So that's really good news. So they are making some progress, but they need to do it with the core stuff. Let us get our ships reliably. Let us get out of our hangars without exploding. Stop losing the ships with cargo whilst they're in the hangars. Transit systems working reliably. Freight elevators not losing our stuff and regurgitating stuff out that it shouldn't do. They can get that stuff fixed. Put the game in a far more stable state where we can concentrate on more of these sandbox activities. Good fun. A lot of fun. I mean, they're kind of sandboxy, kind of not. They're a location where you can do whatever you want and there's no mission to go there. You get out of it what you want to get out of it. But they are very one-dimensional in that it is, you get keycards, you get loot, you get blades, you get Valakar, you get out. Right? But they can certainly add a few more elements like this, other things to go and do. Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. Maybe even add some choices. When you come down, you've got a choice. You can either do this thing or this thing, because doing one stops you from doing two, for example. Tech0 says, just saw someone in game chat call the Idris railgun the whale gun. Yeah, you're not wrong. That's exactly what it is. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been really good to see this week. Like I say, next week, keep an eye on the Comlink on Monday, and I'll try and put an announcement up in the Discord as well. Once we know when Fleet Week is, I will aim to go live at the same time, just the same as I did for ILW, so I can be on chat with you guys and we can talk through whatever's coming. We can all laugh at me if I'm wrong about the concept and the Prowler variant. And yeah, it'll be good to see you all guys there and see how it all plays out. Failing that, 4.2 obviously once that's out and running and done. Oh my god, that is very wide. But yes, we'll take a look at that ourselves when it's out and when it's playing, and I'll try and offer some thoughts on it, having not done 4.2 yet at all myself. It's always fun, I think, to give these things a go when we get to when it comes to launch, so you don't have to deal with all the bugs and shiz. But yeah, that brings us, I think, quite nicely onto time for the stream. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.